this is where we used to meet, and I say used to, the only reason we now meet in the large room is that we're packing the room beyond what the fire marshal will let us have in this room. The council people sit here at the table. There's a chair for the chief of staff, who is Dan Johnson. There's a chair for our attorney to sit here. There's normally a chair where the treasurer, Daisy Madison, sits. And then we usually have a chair that stays vacant down here for folks that either we've asked to speak or they've come and asked to speak to a committee. Most everything that we do that's resolutions and agendas that we're going to vote on come through a committee. It may be a committee that has to do with the police. If that's the case, it comes through a safety committee. Now, if it has to do with a benefit of the police, like their salary or their pension, then it might come through the committee that deals with personnel department. And so they're, depending on what it's about, it will be assigned to a different committee, a various committee. We have a committee that is deals with ethics and human resources. Those two are put together. We have a committee that deals with housing, which is Sally Robinson. We have Public Works, which is chaired by Manny Rico. We have Legal and Legislation and Safety, which is chaired by Peter Murphy. That one's very active because a lot of what we vote on is law. Well, it becomes law when we voted on a resolution or an ordinance if it's law. But there may be a legal ramification, or it may have some legal element to it, and in that case it comes through the Legal and Legislative Committee. The chairperson does not have a committee. The chairperson does run the agenda session meeting at 3 o'clock, and of course they conduct the 6 o'clock meeting in there where we're actually taking the vote. There's a committee, Russell Gilbert heads up the Committee of Parks and Recreation and Arts and Culture. Carol Burrs heads up Budget, and Mr. Benson heads up Economic Development. So economic development may be like when Volkswagen was going to come here, and we had to, the council, and it was a council prior to the one that I'm on, they had to decide about how much land Volkswagen was going to be buying and what conditions Volkswagen would come here under, and they worked out a lot of tax credits for Volkswagen to come here. That was all handled through economic development. So if a company moves here and they're going to ask for those types of arrangements, we'll hear about it through our Economic Development Committee. The committee meetings start at 3 o'clock and they start with the agenda session. And that's where we go through the ordinance and resolutions that are going to come before the council to be voted on that evening. And if anyone has a concern or a problem with anything that is brought up, we can discuss it at that point so we know just about how it's going to be handled in the meeting. There may be an occasion where something on the resolution or zoning, or ordinance, it could be a zoning issue, and the person that applied for the zoning change may have said, I'm not ready yet and I would like to defer or pull my item off the agenda tonight. We discussed that so we know it's already on the agenda, so we have to do something with it. We can't just knock it off the agenda. So we will say, as a council, someone needs to ask to defer this tonight. When it comes up, will someone make the motion for us to defer it for 2 weeks or a month or whatever? And if it gets a second vote and then the council has 5 votes that will defer it, that item is deferred. But we knew about that from the applicant during the agenda session. So that's where, and committees used to be held in here, and you would have different groups from departments in here. If they knew that they had an item on the agenda that was going to be discussed, that department would be here in case the council had questions on it. The item on the agenda might be of interest to people in the general public, and they may show up for the committee meeting. So it got, and then you've got the media. So it got to where this room just wasn't holding people. So we began to meet in the other room. But this is our conference room, and this is where we used to have our conference, our committee meetings. We will be having, starting Tuesday, we'll be having our budget meetings, and they will be in here, because most of the general public does not come to budget meetings. They're welcome, they're open to the public, they're announced publicly, but a lot of people just don't attend. And usually only the departments that we're going to be talking about on that particular day come in here with us. So we'll probably be meeting in here a lot during the budget session, but for most of the committee meetings, we're in the big room over there. Would you all rather stay in here or go to the large room?
The large room's pretty nice.
All right, let's do that. And then we can all sit down.